Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and children, if you're watching. Uh, we are waiting a guest, Lisa Ekman, who was a former advocate and lobbyist for the Democrat Party years ago, but who has written a book called Deprogramming Democrats and Uneducating the Elites. She is supposed to be here. Hopefully, she's just running a little late, and she will be here. Let me just check my email, make sure she hasn't sent something saying that she's delayed or whatever.
Let's make sure to see if she didn't come to her senses and decided not to show up. Why am I going to be on that podcast? How many people do they have on YouTube?
We got another one from Sutton. Should Mamdani become mayor on New York City, he will destroy the already poor rental market. That's true. All right, we're going to have to talk to whoever wrote that. Sutton, she is giving us somebody else to.
Well, I have some news.
What's that?
On the Dip shampoo.
Yes.
Way back when we talked to the young lady.
Yes.
And I started using her shampoo.
Yeah.
Just thought the audience would like to know my 0.7 ounce bar. I still have, and I use it once a week.
Oh, I still have the shampoo bar. It's about that small now.
Right. It's amazing how long it lasts.
I use it daily.
Okay. I only shampoo my hair once a week because I was informed that doing more so can damage your hair, but maybe not with this product.
Oh, Sutton is sending us a couple of people. Wait, and there's somebody else here. Wait a minute. I lost that. Somebody said, hello, sir. Let's see.
Are you sure that Lisa has, Miss Ekman, that she has your link?
Yeah. Oh, this guy's trying to send me a bill for Geek Squad. That's bullshit. I'm not going to open that.
But right. And we all know that when it comes to computers, you are already a geek. Not in a good way. You're like in the what is it? The Circus of Dr. Calamaro. That what was that?
The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Yeah. And they're all freaks in there. That's you.
I don't remember. I don't remember the film at all. The only Freaks I remember is from the.
Well, wait a second. There was a movie
called Freaks.
Yes, you're right. I'm sorry, I got my movies mixed up.
No, that's a horror film. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
I think. So's
Freaks. The good doctor's cabinets, you're screwed. Cabinet.
Yeah. I never saw it. It's supposed to be great.
What?
I never saw it, but it's supposed to be great.
Yes. I don't know if I saw it or not. If I did, it was a long time ago. I had to reset my phone because I did open the thing and it showed the thing and I clicked on it. So I hope. I got to make sure my
there's two movies that are silent that I remember loving, and that I watched them not during the silent era. Okay, even though I'm 71. The first one is The General with Buster Keaton.
Oh, yeah, that was where he did that stunt where he was there when the wall came down and he went through the open window.
That was dangerous.
That was extremely dangerous because he had it calculated perfectly because that was a real thick wall. And if he had miscalculated by even a couple of inches, he would have been killed.
Okay, so now we know how Roy thinks. I'm telling you about the greatness of the story, and all he's concerned about is the acrobatics, the FX, so to speak.
Which made the film, a great thing.
No, if it had squashed him, there wouldn't have been a film. So it was just
wait a minute.
And the other
in California. Well,
first of all, mandation. I thought it was the Supreme Court.
Here's the guy we might be able to that she's suggesting for us. John Leake, author of Vaccines, Mythology, Ideology, and Reality. And he's worked with Dr. Peter McCullough. This sounds like somebody that we'd love to have on our podcast, but I don't know if he'd want to appear on our podcast.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, those out there, just understand, Roy is an interview whore. He has absolutely, he doesn't care who he interviews as long as there's a third face or more, so as much as 2 extra faces, as with the Gnarly Girls. And the funny thing is, the Gnarly Girls I was so scared to have on, and that was one of our very best.
You were afraid.
I was afraid, yeah.
You were afraid.
I was afraid you were going to embarrass us.
I felt bad I couldn't go see Tony when she appeared in New York on October 5th.
In New York City? I wouldn't go into New York City right now if my life depended on it. There's too much bullshit going on.
Oh my God, another one? It's $150 inside of a week. I had
by the way, the guy that shot that insurance man in the back of the head.
Mangione.
Yeah. If Mr. Mangione, if you're listening, just let you know that Mondavi, the guy running for mayor, is really into insurance. He wants free insurance for everybody, free medical insurance for everybody. Just so you'd like to know,
that's not gonna get him to shoot him.
No, I thought.
Tell him Mamdani is gonna make insurance even more expensive, which he will.
Oh, that as well. Yeah.
All right.
And he's a secret Christian. Okay, that's another thing. He's a secret Republican. He is anti-trans, anti-gay,
anti-Mangione.
You see, the problem with Mangione, it sounds like something you'd say in Italian to somebody eat. Hey, Mangione.
There was a guy.
No, there wasn't.
Gary Mangione.
Gary
was a guy I graduated with.
Good
and
for you.
he was a little out there. I mean, he almost knocked one of my other friends, Jerry, out the windows of the second floor. And the first floor, I got to point out, first floor was about 20 feet high. All right, so we were on the second floor, and he pushed Jerry, and Jerry went towards the window. If it weren't for the bars of the wooden plank that the school had put up there, he would have fallen out. The school had put the plank up the year before because somebody else got thrown out that window, and luckily fell on the bushes downstairs. But Gary Mangione wound up going, from what I heard, to the Citadel. So he's connected these days. It's I like Gary, but he was a scary individual at times.
Sounds like it.
And anyway, I got a story I'll tell you about. I want to do it in public about what he and his friend Kurt Flaherty did during a test. You'll like it, but I don't want to make it public. Anyway.
All right. So there's shame.
So here we are, waiting for Lisa. Let me see if I can call her. Lisa.
And here we are. Roy and his phone. He's either getting called.
Call Lisa. What the hell?
Or he's calling. Either way, he's on the phone.
Hey.
But the good news is he's not trying to establish the laugh track. So that's good. Or the ba-dum-bum.
What the heck?
Which is another one of his favorites.
Wait a minute. I spoke with her. Why don't I have her number in my phone? I know she gave me her phone number. And we did talk.
It could have been agents from Thrush. Thrush being the secret, the enemy of Uncle, which was United Nations something or other.
Why are we not getting her in here?
I don't know. You did something wrong, no doubt.
Here we go. Here, let me call. Oh, no, that's my number.
Okay.
Hold on. She did call me, though. Where the heck is...
Did she call you or text you?
We spoke on the phone to set up the appointment.
Okay. Usually it's the agent, not the... but
the agent gave me her number.
Wow. A lot of trust there.
To set it up ourselves. You know what? I have to... You know what? While you go on and babble about whatever you want to babble about, let me look up the email and see if I can...
The second movie that I liked very much as a silent movie was Metropolis. Metropolis is great, and actually they made an animated version of it, which is very, very good and has an outstanding ending. It's pretty good. Silent movies, anything else? I never really got too much into silent movies. I did watch Robin Hood with Barrymore. John Barrymore, who was
Robin Hood. Oh, that's a real old one.
Yeah, that was, and also John Barrymore also did The Thief of Baghdad, I believe, which
Yes,
is
that was a
another
great
action.
film. I remember I liked that film.
Well, yeah, but at that time, silent movies and everything, there was a lot of excessive grinning. So this way you got the idea. So a lot of physical actions were overdone.
Yeah.
And so, it's almost as bad as in Robin Hood with Errol Flynn. Half the time when they're laughing, they're putting their hands on their hips and leaning backwards.
Oh yeah. Robin Hood with Errol Flynn did that in Robin Hood too.
That was the setup, yes. Oh man, yeah. This is yet another opportunity for me to go ahead and tell you to buy my games. Actually, you don't even have to buy them anymore. You can go to my site. You can print them for free. That's right. And I'll tell you, if you like war games and you want a good one, it's Frontline. If you want something very different, but you want something with a lot of meat on the bone, Time Hammer, which is a time travel game. Then we have the two family favorites, which is Z, that's Z-E-E, and we also have the Mirror Scrolls of Dominovia, which is a domino variant. Get it? Dominovia? Dominoes? Very clever, right? And then the last one is Party Heroes, which is an activity that you can run during an event, which is a game, but it's really more of an activity. Anyway, back to Roy. So, Roy, I understand that when you were 14, that you raped a girl and they sent you to jail for how many years?
No. Lies, all lies.
I'm sorry, it was a boy. And how old was
he?
Lies. All right. It was a cat.
No.
Cat. That's worse. That's like the old joke. There was a psychiatrist has this patient.
She was the one in Maryland. Let me see if that's her. It's an unknown call. Let's see.
Unknown.
I'm going to try this number in Maryland. I don't know if it's her or somebody else.
Can you link us in?
You'll be able to hear it. Here we go.
Dun 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 dun.
Again, I don't know if it's her or not.
Please leave a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks and have a great day.
Hi, Lisa. This is Roy from The View from Here, Behind Enemy Lines. And we're in the studio waiting for you. I don't know if you've forgotten or if something happened. I hope you're all right. But please give me a call at 848. Oh, I don't want to say this online. You have my number on your caller ID there. Please give me a call and let me know what's going on if you can't get into the studio or whatever.
848.
Okay. Bye.
848. 848.
I have to put her name in here. I have it as unknown. That's why.
Yeah. Food for thought. Continue to follow that practice in the future.
No, I usually put everybody's name in right romantic. Away. Okay. So don't give me any crap.
Okay. I guess you're not taking crap anymore. You used to take a lot of crap.
Yes.
But now he's trying to be on a crap-free diet. And we all know that crap cheese.
Oh, I am not. I do not live in New Delhi, so I do not eat cow dung. Oh, I saw where somebody was they did a little quick video about some visitor from the United States to an Indian house, and they have cow dung in a little bowl and they light it up, and like the girl's looking like
It's cool. Yeah. Yeah, they actually, I think the Plains Indians used to use buffalo dung sometimes to light to run some fires and stuff.
oh, to run fires too, yeah, but not to eat. They lit it to cook it so that they could eat it. And the guy said it's the cow is very sacred in India, which we know, and that their dung has many nutrients.
When it comes to other cultures, please, when it comes to other cultures, don't go poo poo.
It's kind of like presentism, right?
Don't go poo poo.
All right, yeah, I missed that the first time.
Yes, I know. That's why I had to say it the second time. So this looks like another exciting event.
Another silly thing. Oh, by the way, the podcast we recorded yesterday, whatchamacallit, the Riverside was having problems with its AWS. I forget what that stands for. And so everything was processing slowly. And it took forever for it to process the video thing. And I couldn't put it up on as a video. I put it up as an audio on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. But it's not anywhere else because I need some video to put it up on Apple and on Rumble and other not Apple.
YouTube.
Rumble, YouTube, and other places. So Spotify too. No, Spotify I have it.
Well, actually, I have listened to podcasts that had no video on YouTube. So
me too, and I have some videos I made years ago that were only audio. I don't know why they're not allowing me to put it up now.
Well, here's the interesting thing. If it was a video that was only audio, then it's not a video. It's simply audio.
Well, it's an audio, yes. But I couldn't post an audio. I'm going to keep trying because I have it listed as a bonus. You know what? It's because of episodes like this one that probably, what's his name? Carlos Santos probably saw one of these and decided, I'm not going on that friggin' podcast.
Something to stab
I wish he would come because the election is soon, and if we're going to talk about New Jersey politics, he better, I hope he comes on. He's going to have to call me soon.
The thing is
I think a rhino in his entourage told him, no, don't go on that podcast with these guys. Okay,
because he might be very busy, right?
We constantly bust on rhinos all the time, and New Jersey is full of rhinos. For those of you who don't know, that's Republican in name only.
Yeah, and that's not people Democrat that are getting plastic surgery on their nose, getting a rhinoplasty.
Oh yeah, not like those.
Bunch of rhinos.
Oh, by the way, did you see that? Well, Tina cut my hair the other day.
Oh.
No. Actually, I went past the Indian reservation. Every time I go through there, this shit happens to me.
Well, consider yourself fortunate you still have it.
Yes, I do.
Yep. Makes it easier to keep the brain warm.
Didn't help you.
Well, I didn't say having a warm brain increased your intelligence. If it did, then you would be wearing a hat.
Then I would be in the top 2% of Mensa rather than just Mensa.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I never tried that test. And now I don't think I would be able to do it. You got to do it when you're younger. Because
what did you say?
That memory thing, where it takes you longer to sift through all your memories to find the right answer to something.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like something that's fun.
What, doing tests? Also, at the time, back in when I was 30 years old,
19.
I forget how much it cost. It wasn't too bad. Well, it was expensive, but I could afford it back then. And nowadays, I have no idea how much they would charge to do the test, especially that test. And I heard while we were on a break during the test, I heard a couple of people talking to one of the monitors there, and he was saying, "Yeah, I saw that test for the top 2% of the top 2%." He said, I couldn't understand anything they were talking about.
Well, in truth, intellect, is only one facet of our, interaction with the universe.
Well, remember, Lisa wrote her book saying that she's uneducating the elites.
Yeah, there's.
Never have so many people been so educated and still so stupid.
Well, that's because education is part of the process
Propaganda.
of keeping these people, controlled.
Yeah, the Rockefeller system
The
of public
media,
schooling.
the internet, and the school system, and whatever other systems are involved, are grooming people and enforcing right think, which is their whatever it is. The Department of Truth. That's what it's all about. That's why there is what they call what do they call the false information again?
Misinformation.
Disinformation.
Misinformation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
which that department would have been nothing but misinformation and disinformation.
well, it's interesting because the misinformation was an accurate term
Or
because
was it disinformation? Disinformation.
yeah.
You're giving us you're misinformed about this.
Well, you could say either one, but
And you may be you may be spreading disinformation about the whole thing.
misinformation, we'll say. Okay, but the thing is that um, the intent of those that are doing the brainwashing, doing the propaganda, the intent is to teach a narrative. So even if it is the truth, it's misinformation in regards to their interests. So it's like that whole idea that if you lie for certain reasons, it's considered a noble lie.
No, they want everybody thinking the same. That's what it is. And you know what? Thank God for the internet and for podcasts and all that, because somebody pointed out the other day on another podcast, if it weren't for these podcasts, we would accept what the media is telling us, as we have forever, and believe it was true. And meanwhile, now we know, especially over the last 5 years, that they've been feeding us bullshit by the barrel.
I want to expand on the statement that you made, though. You said they want everybody to think the same. I don't think that's the whole story. I think, yes, they want everybody to have the same
Not
data.
to think.
They
Not
want
to
to.
think.
They
That's
want
right.
everybody to carry the same messages.
Yeah,
So
they don't want you to think; they want you to believe.
yeah, because there's plenty of patriots out there that think the same, but not in agreement with those people that are putting their thumb upon the
Yeah.
population.
You know what I find funny? The Democrats are always claiming that Republicans are divided. That you got this faction believes that faction believes that. You got the MAGA, you got the anti-MAGA, but conservative, ultra conservative. But the Democrats all think together in lockstep. They are like the Borg from what was it? Star Trek, was it?
Yes,
And they're like
next
these.
generation.
They are like a one-minded creature, which is what I don't like about this Neuralink thing, because they can get into your brain and program you. Basically, I think someday, not now, but they will eventually be able to program you. And if
They're
they
already-
get everybody,
they're already
or if you're not thinking correctly, they could turn you off by giving you a stroke or something.
You see, effectively they don't have to go that far. They're already doing it. They're already managing the major networks. They're already managing Hollywood. They're already managing the internet.
Government.
Yeah, government as well. Yeah, the list goes on.
Uh-huh.
So they're already using any kind of item that generates information at the people, and those people that have gone along with it so far are continually are on this treadmill of ideas that they themselves have crafted. So, that's like I was listening to Tim Pool. Tim Pool believes that we are not headed towards a civil war. Tim Pool believes we already are in one.
Yeah. Yes, I saw that.
That all of this stuff, you see, civil wars do not have to look the same. This is a different type of civil war. They're attacking ICE, they're attacking federal agents, they're denying the results of the Supreme Court. They're out to destroy the administration. They've actually called for the eradication of the president, the eradication of those who support him. So that is a call to arms, which they've actually used that term. They said there's a need. We have a call to arms, and you should bring actual weapons to these protests, not just words. So it's continually escalating, especially since Trump continues to put the pressure on.
Well, look at it this way. No Kings protesters are celebrating child smacking and stabbing a Trump pinata during the No Kings things. Okay? And here's another one. Democrat at No Kings rally refuses to condemn political violence.
Well, actually,
the No Kings rallies are pressuring moderate Democrats to prolong the shutdown. Fine by me. We finally agree on something. You know what? The government's been closed for how long now? And what's happened? Has it affected anyone's lives yet?
It's actually hurt the Democrats because Trump has more authority.
Yeah. Oh, here's a new hoax that just dropped. Trump is destroying the White House. I guess by putting up that
ballroom. He's putting in a new ballroom.
The ballroom, yeah. Which the taxpayer is not paying for. Trump himself is paying for it, and so are billionaire donors who've given money to do it. And this is something that will belong to the nation.
The Democrats, their idea of a ballroom is having two men in Congress when nobody's there having sex.
Or with a child.
Well, actually, there was two guys that actually did that. They were on camera.
Yeah, and the Democrats in
the Democrats
somewhere in the Capitol building. Yeah, and they still kept their jobs because they were Democrats. Scumbags.
I thought it was because they don't care.
What the hell? Left-wing fabulous Jimmy Kimmel likely cost Disney millions of subscribers. A lot of people canceled Disney after they put Kimmel back on.
That's that is. See, the thing is, some people say that's cancel culture. No, that's the power of economics. If somebody is despicable, I'm not going to go ahead and support their lifestyle. That's all there is to it. And that's more than just Kimmel. If there's a store and you have a disagreement with the owner, you're not going to do business there.
They have a whole section here in Breitbart on goddamn Newscom. Like Newsom's Proposition 50 will grow the Hamas caucus in Washington. He closed the highway during J.D. Vance's trip to the U.S. Marine Corps event. Somebody called him a petty little man, which he is. Newsom signs a bill making child abduction from school easier in California.
Yeah, that was we talked about a couple of months ago. The idea that as any adult can go up and say, "Oh, so and so's parents were taken by ICE. I'm here to pick them up."
Yeah. And here's another one. He hides a bailout for utility companies and passes billions in costs to consumers. This is ridiculous.
First of all, here's the thing. Let's say you have a guy and he's got a machete and he runs out to the street. The street is kind of occupied.
Yeah.
And he goes up to somebody from behind and chops them in the neck and kills them. I don't need more evidence to know that guy should be taken down. Newsom has reached this over and over again. Newsom is a cancer in California. He's one of the main reasons why California, instead of thriving, is degenerating. And the thing is that he's basically another Mundavi.
Oh,
Only
yeah.
he's in power right now.
He's just not a Muslim, at least not yet.
Wait, he's not. First of all, he can't be anything because he's a load. You know, he couldn't be religious because he's corrupt from top to bottom. He's a miserable creature.
Anyway, yeah, he's destroyed California. He destroyed San Francisco first as mayor there. Then he went on to destroy the whole state. Now he wants to do what he did there to the whole country.
Well, and practice makes perfect. What can I tell you?
Anyway, you know what? Maybe this is good that Lisa didn't show up today because it'll give me a chance to do something about where I set up my laptop for these things so that my hair doesn't disappear into the whiteness.
Nobody cares.
I cares.
Neither of us are interesting enough to even watch anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Speak for yourself. Hey, by the way, do you know that? Are you familiar with that joke about the Lone Ranger and Tonto being surrounded by hundreds of Indians?
What do you mean, we, white man?
No. What do you mean, we, paleface?
White man.
I heard paleface.
Well, great. I got the joke out first.
No, you didn't. I started.
But I went to the punchline, which means it's done.
EPA slashes the agency workforce, maintains critical agency functions despite the Democrat shutdown. Yay!
Well, here's even though Hamas decided to go ahead and test the ceasefire, it's back again and with more threats from Trump and from Israel if they fail to do what's right, what they've agreed to, and they're back to giving aid to the people there, and hopefully, I have a feeling they expected something to happen.
Vance is in Israel, and you know what he said?
What?
He said Hamas will be obliterated if it fails to disarm.
There's also some negative talk about our Department of War leader. Oh my God, I forgot his name all of a sudden. The head of the War Department, Hegseth. Yeah. There's this rumor going around that he's now unliked by the fellow generals. So that's
only the generals that he kicked out.
Oh, here's something. Some assholes out there are saying that Charlie Kirk was a racist. Okay.
Oh, they've been saying that for a long time. That's why they've been denigrating him for a long time, saying he was racist. He never said anything racist.
I just discovered this. So basically, folks, if you're listening, chances are you don't believe that. And if you do, I suggest you snap out of it. But the point is this. If you hear it, just be aware that it's all been debunked. It's all been proven wrong. And there are videos out there, mostly of black people, telling you, yeah, this is bullshit. So
all you have to do is watch several videos of him interacting with people, even blacks, especially blacks, perhaps, and you'll see he was not a racist. That's all horseshit from the left.
But do what I did, which is send a copy of one of those videos to whomever makes that accusation.
Whenever I find that stuff, I put it on.
Okay.
I've got videos of black people talking about the idiocy of blacks who believe in that Republicans are evil and this and that, and they want slave, and that Trump wants to make them all slaves again and so forth. And I got black people making these videos showing how ridiculous those claims are.
Right. Well, the thing is
I repost them whenever I see them.
Listen, these people, many of the citizens in this country are victims to these lies. So don't take it personally when they go ahead and talk this stuff. Okay. Don't make them a villain. Don't try to prove them wrong. Do what I did, which is say, okay. So what did he do that did this to you? Give me an example.
Yeah. They can't do it most of the time.
let them talk.
Yes.
Let them teach you, and then say, "Oh, I'll look into that." And then you do.
No. They will always come up with something like the Charlottesville good people on both sides thing, or what was the other thing? Well, any of the hoaxes that Trump has
No,
been
I'm not
accused
saying
of.
that they won't come up with something they still believe. I'm just saying find out what it is that they do believe and why they believe it, if they can even say it, and then send them some video that debunks it. In other words, let them teach you what not to believe. You know,
Corinne Jean-Pierre is still lying.
what?
She claims she never saw Biden's mental decline. I guess that's because if you're mentally incapable, you can't see it in others, I suppose.
Well, she is. Everybody in that administration is suspect because that entire administration was a bunch of liars. It's just, and that's just the way it is. I mean, they're still going through all kinds of records and asking people questions about this. What didn't you notice of his decline? I mean, that's one of the things that Lisa Ekman talked about. Was she had a chance? I believe was. Oh, I'm sorry. It was RFK. RFK in the early days when Biden was first in. Uh, Robert Kennedy Jr.
Yeah, what about him?
Yeah, he met Biden and he immediately knew there was something wrong with him, and that was in the very first days. So, and he said it got worse from there. And basically, he would go through these periods. Biden would go through these periods of just talking about the old days. According to RFK, you'd be lucky to get 5 hours of work out of him a week, and that was in the beginning.
See, Sue O'Connell says that the Boston No Kings rally was mostly older white hair folks. That was how it was all over the country. 2,500 they claim No Kings rally, and it was all older people. And at 1 o'clock, they ran to the buses because hey, they were only getting paid till 1 o'clock.
Well, hey, look who's here!
Ah, Lisa, you made it.
Yes, hello. I'm a little early. I hope you don't mind me joining a few minutes early.
No, you were supposed to be here 2 o'clock. What time zone are you in?
Did I write down? I wrote
Wait,
down
you're in Central
3.
Time, right? You're Central Time?
No, I'm in. My sincere apologies, gentlemen.
That's okay. No. At least you showed up. We've had a couple of people, screw up on the timing, and they showed up after we'd started the podcast because they weren't here, and it worked out fine.
Okay.
And we were just talking about Democrats.
I wanted to do a lot of talking myself. I'm Michael, and I got a chance to rant. As you can see, I'm really good at that. I wouldn't have been able to do that if you had shown up earlier. So thank you very much. I very much appreciate it.
Hold on. The program is telling me that you joined in portrait orientation. Can you switch it to landscape so it matches ours? No, not really.
What? I didn't say anything wrong with her.
No, now you're sideways.
Yes. Be careful.
Yeah. Put it back the way it was.
You're
okay. Yeah, I see you fine.
I do too.
I think it's going to record okay. Anyway, I apologize for that. Anyway, we were just talking about the No Kings rallies, the ones where people were paid to be there. And I took a picture of a list of 7 or 8 billionaires that paid for these people all over the country to be there. Do you have anything to say about that? Oh, this is, by the way, Lisa Ekman. She's a former advocate and lobbyist for the Democrats in D.C. You were active with the Democrat Party for 20 years, I believe, or over?
About 20 years, that's right. I worked on the Hill for people such as Ted Kennedy and Tom Harkin, and worked in federal agencies and government contractors, and worked as a lobbyist and an advocate, and kind of saw all of DC's good, bad, and ugly, with an emphasis on the last two. So, but yeah. And I call myself a recovering attorney because I don't practice anymore. That doesn't mean I've perfected it. It means I stopped trying. So
And you've
No,
written.
hey, no, you are obviously doing good because you're no longer a practicing attorney, and more importantly, you're no longer a mindless Democrat. I mean, I'm guessing you're still a blue dog Democrat.
Well, I wouldn't
Or am I
consider
wrong?
myself a member of any party, and in full disclosure, I voted for Donald Trump in 2024.
Okay, you're
So,
like us.
yeah,
We're
I mean,
independent, but we're registered Republicans, so we can vote in the primaries. That's it.
yeah, we don't have to declare in the state of Virginia, so I can
Well,
vote
that's good.
whatever primary I want to.
Yeah, but
And
unfortunately,
for me, it's going to be whoever is going to protect our Constitution, our Republic, and our fundamental rights that are enshrined, especially in the First Amendment. I'm going to vote for. Loyalty to party, as our founding fathers warned us about, is just one of the potentially most divisive and damaging things to our country. Loyalty to the Constitution first and foremost for me, and protecting the Republic. So,
And this process led you to write a book about deprogramming. Would you like to tell the public about that?
sure, yeah, it's hard to admit you're wrong, and then it's really hard to admit you're wrong about everything. When you wake up to find out that you were indoctrinated and brainwashed, that's kind of what you might be drawn to do, which is what I was drawn to do. I spent a lot of time in school. As I mentioned, I'm a recovering attorney, so I have a law degree. I also have a master's in social work, and I have a bachelor's in communications. In sitting down and taking a look at things, I've found that our education system is a big part of how people are getting brainwashed and programmed. That, along with propaganda and censorship through our so-called media, independent media, which has never been independent and is certainly not now. The mainstream, we have a lot of independent journalists and citizens who are truth seekers, who are speaking truth, but our so-called legacy or mainstream media has never been independent from our intelligence agencies and our government. So I think, when COVID hit, there were a lot of things that sort of woke me up to the reality that we found ourselves in. I will share a really quick story pre-COVID that my mom in 2013 was diagnosed with stage 4 of an aggressive cancer, and she at the time was caring for my dad, who was uh, recovering, never really recovered, but he had catastrophic uh, complications from surgery. And so he was functionally quadriplegic and had adrenal failure. So she was caring for him and then was diagnosed with this really aggressive stage 4 cancer. Said, I'm going to do traditional treatment, Lisa, but I'll do anything else too if it will help me to recover. And so she asked me if I would look into it for her, and I did. And we took like sort of a full environmental approach. We changed her diet, everything she put in on her body, everything she cleaned with. And then we also worked on helping her manage stress better, and doing, all sorts of things to protect her, to help her health. And so she had surgery, and then she started a round of chemo treatments, which was going to be 6 treatments for the first round. And halfway through those, after 3 treatments, she was cancer free. And her doctor was shocked. A miracle. He had never seen it before with this highly aggressive cancer. So she, I learned a lot when I was reading those books. And one of the things that I learned is that our medical system often ignores a lot of options that might be there to help support people when they're going through these kinds of illnesses. And the agencies that are designed supposedly to protect us often are not doing that at all. But these were the same agencies that I had put my faith in and had worked with for so many years. And so it raised a lot of questions to me about those very health agencies. And then flash forward to COVID, I actually had decided to retire March 31st of 2020, because I had started to get really um, disillusioned with the system and my ability to influence the outcomes in the policy process. as I had seen things come more and more political and less based on what was good for the American people, but what was going to look good to the donors and look good for the next election. And this was, of course, coming from the Democratic side, because that's where I spent my time. And so I had decided to retire, and I retired at that point. And, but when COVID first came, I was scared, very scared. I'm ashamed to admit I bought everything. I followed along and did what I was supposed to and wanted to protect, my neighbor and the grandmothers out there and everything else that we were being told we were at risk, who were at risk. But a lot of the health advice that we were being given really didn't make a lot of sense to me based on all that research I had done to help protect my mom. Oh, I did skip part of the story with my mom. I just realized, and that is that um, my mom was cancer free for 2 years after that. No evidence of cancer for 2 years. Small growth reappeared. She had one chemo treatment and it fried her kidneys, and she died a month later. And so it really shook my faith in the medical treatment center and all that. So flash forward though, one of the big things that I had learned was how really, really important vitamin D was, for example, for your health. And one of the first things they did was tell us we couldn't leave our houses, if you recall, during the lockdowns. Even if you had your own backyard and you were not at risk at seeing anybody, you weren't supposed to go outside. And I said, well, what kind of sense does that make? What kind of public health recommendation is that? And what is the data and evidence to support it? And I couldn't find any. And there were a number of other recommendations, like the 6 foot social distancing, which, as we now know, had absolutely no science behind it. It's sort of, as Anthony Fauci later admitted during a Senate hearing, I believe, that there really wasn't any science. It just kind of appeared and they just went with it. And, so it was creating a lot of, questions in my mind about what is really going on here. Why can Walmart stay open, but this mom and pop business that someone worked their entire life to open has to shut down and can't open and even have like one customer in at a time? None of it was making any sense to me. And at the same time, my boyfriend at the time, who's my partner now, uh, he wasn't believing a lot of what they were saying. And he was, he and I were going at it, verbally sparring, no physical sparring, but just verbally, as you might imagine, because we didn't agree. And he kept saying, you don't believe me, prove me wrong, find me the research, show me where I'm wrong. Um, and and then I think the real thing that woke me up is when I started to see them censoring people asking questions. And I was raised. I was raised by very liberal parents, but liberal parents who strongly believed in our Constitution and who very much believed in an absolute freedom of speech from a government perspective. True liberals, JFK liberals, classical liberals, however you might want to say it. And so I was raised to believe that our First Amendment is not there for when it's easy. It's there to protect speech for when it's hard. It's there to protect speech for when power is being abused and you need to hold power to account. Or at the very least, you need to question what power is doing. And so as I started to see people asking questions getting censored, and things like the Great Barrington Declaration, which was scientists and doctors and researchers saying we should really take a more targeted approach and protect those people who are vulnerable, but we don't need to shut society down. And when we couldn't even have an honest conversation about that, and a lot of people I've talked to since are like, the Great Barrington what? But this was, precisely that. It was completely censored. Um, and so it really started to raise some alarm bells. And in the meantime, I'm seeing a lot of the people who are not Democrats, who are um, independent thinkers, independents, and Republicans, saying the same thing that my boyfriend Jamie was saying is, do your own research, prove us wrong. And he, at that point, Jamie and I were getting into it one day, I said to him, I said, Jamie, I just can't believe these people that I worked with, these agencies that I've worked with for the past 2 decades. I can't believe they would do this to us, to America, to the world without the data and evidence to support it. And he looked me in the eyes and he said, Lisa, if they'll poison our water, what won't they do?
Wait a second. I have a question about that statement.
Sure.
So you already believed that they were poisoning the water?
I did, yes. I believe that they were poisoning the water. And since then, the government has come out and admit that fluoride in the water lowers IQ points.
There you go. And they began using it in Nazi Germany against the Jews.
Correct. And it is also an industrial waste product that they found a market for. And we're one of the only countries that does it. And so on and so forth. Not to mention the fact that there's chlorine in the water, and while I understand that it's not necessarily the case that chlorine is straight out poison, but it's not good for you. You wouldn't sit there and drink straight chlorine. And one of the sort of things that the research I did with my mom got me to really think about is that we act as though there's scientific certainty about what a level of exposure to a certain chemical what level is okay. And one of the things that we forget is that they're not looking at that chemical in combination with all the other chemicals we're exposed to and what level is okay. And they also are saying this is what an average person's level of exposure that's okay is. And none of us are average, and so some of us are going to be hurt by a lower level of things. So, with all of that being said, yes, I already 100% believed it. I had a reverse osmosis water filtering system that I had been using since I did the research for my mom. Excuse me. And the truth is, water is the most essential thing for us. If we don't have it, we die in pretty short order. So my brain could not think its way out of this contradiction that these agencies that are designed to protect us are clearly allowing us to be poisoned in one way. So why wouldn't they do something that wasn't in our best interest in another way? And so so my brain kind of literally stopped and sort of said, okay. And then he said, you don't believe me, then prove me wrong. And I said, okay, I will. And I started doing actual research that didn't just look at what the government narrative was around things. And that's when everything really started to fall apart. The reality that I believed existed disappeared. And I sort of said, wow, I've been lied to and deceived my entire life. And everything I believed was a lie. And I had a lot of soul searching to do about how I had lived my life up to that point, and how I had, thinking about who was I and what did all of that mean in terms of my future. And so I spent the next few years doing a lot of soul searching, asking myself, what's next? And I also, as I saw the attacks on free speech accelerate, I saw the Biden administration literally trying to form what I can only call a my goodness, I'm forgetting from George Orwell, a ministry of truth, to say what is real and what is not.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't
We were
call
talking
it
about
that,
that.
but that's what they were, and once you cede the right to anyone else, but especially a government with legal power over people to say what is real and what is not, you lose freedom. It's gone. And once you lose it, it's almost impossible to get it back. So I said, okay, I feel like I have to do something to help protect the country that I love. And what can I do? Well, let me write a book about my experience and try to help wake other people up to the truth, and also to help people, wake people up, and then also really to help people who are waking up through the process, because it's extremely challenging. And one of the first things that you feel like is you're losing your mind, because here's everything I thought was true and it's not. And was I crazy before or am I crazy now? And the truth is, you're not, you were never crazy. You were brainwashed and indoctrinated, or I was. And you're not losing your mind, you're reclaiming it. And I think the biggest thing that has happened to a lot of people on the left, especially the far left, is that they don't allow themselves to question authority, and they don't allow themselves to think. And it's hard to have an opinion that goes against what everybody else in your friendship group, everybody else in your social media bubble, and what all the media is telling you is true. Especially in an environment where people get canceled and deplatformed and doxxed, and even more lately, especially with a lot of the people who would be considered right wing, swatted.
Jailed.
I have to congratulate you. You are one of the few people who have taken on cognitive dissonance head on and conquered it. And I have to give kudos to your boyfriend, Jamie, okay? Your partner. For helping you do that.
Roy. I think a vast majority of America has had to drop their level of trust in this country. I think we all trusted the government far too much, to the point where I went through an early process of believing that this terrible thing was happening, only to find out that they were just manipulating us to control us. So this way, if you continue to ask people to do irrelevant things and they do them, you've established a form of control. And then when something meaningful comes along, then you can definitely exploit them. And one of the other things I want to mention is, in order to be truly betrayed, you have to have faith in the subject that's betraying you. So the thing is, we had faith. You had faith. Roy had faith. I had faith. And to some degree, and it was shattered, which is shocking and leaves you vulnerable and hurt and confused, especially since even if it wasn't love, you thought there was at least some degree of loyalty. So, as Roy just said, first of all, I think that your journey back into a world of liberty is even more meaningful than some of the other ones I've heard, because you were in the belly of the beast deeper than most people are. And for you to actually stop drinking the Kool-Aid and literally turn on your own ideology, which you bled for, that is an amazing journey, and I applaud you.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I completely do agree with what you're both saying. For me, politics wasn't just how I related to my government, it was how I expressed my entire identity. It was everything, it's how I built my confidence and my self esteem. So it was really, really challenging to do that. And in the book Deprogramming Democrats, I talk about this, and you're 100% right. Fear is the oldest control mechanism on the planet. And one of the things is that, a lot of people in modern society, but especially on the left, don't have a connection to the creator. They don't have their own relationship with any spiritual relationship at all. And so when that happens, when you do have a relationship with God, or however that manifests for you, some people would say they're more spiritual, but they connect to the creator energy or those kind of things. And I'm not here to tell people how to believe, but if you don't have any connection in that way, that connection often gives you peace, allows you to have faith in something bigger than yourself, And it takes away that fear, and that need also for external validation from people in the same way, because you get that external validation from your creator who loves you unconditionally and is there. When you don't have that, it's much easier to control you through fear. It's much easier to make you afraid and to cause a rift between you and your fellow humans who, when you do believe in the creator, have you're all God's children, and so you're all connected, and you're all, in that way. And when you don't, you're not. It's a lot easier to dehumanize people and make them the enemy, which we have seen, I think, used very effectively. And especially for the younger generations, since 9/11, fear has been an identity politics. Fear through identity politics has just been rampant. If you were born towards the end of the 20th century, beginning of the 21st century, even though we haven't declared an actual war since World War II, we've been in conflict your entire life since 9/11. And the fear from 9/11 was used to completely eviscerate our Fourth Amendment rights through the Patriot Act, as well as through the passage of the Transportation Safety Act, which led to TSA at the airports, which, if you think about it, really, you are searched without a warrant by a government entity every time you go to fly. And so it got you used to, first of all, and I think that sort of set the ground for the compliance that happened during COVID. Government says you do this. You take your shoes off when you go through the airport line, even though it doesn't make any sense. And you take them off.
Searching for 4 pairs of shoes. Because
Yeah.
when that guy, Richard, whatever his name is, he got caught. Apparently there were five shoe bombs made, and they got his, but they're looking for the other 4. So for 20-something years now, they have disturbed us every time we want to travel by plane.
And so you get my point, right? Now you're used to complying, you do what you're told, and you do it without thinking about it because it's becoming sort of more habit. And so some of the things that happened during COVID, people didn't even stop to question them, because they effectively used fear to shut down the critical thinking really well. I mean, you couldn't open up your screen or turn on your television or pick up a newspaper if you actually got one in print without seeing the COVID ticker. How many cases, how many this, how many that. And so you got very afraid and you started. I'm sorry?
Artificially inflated numbers.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is kind of the first time that we've ever tested people with no symptoms for something. And it is also kind of the first time that, well, maybe not the first time, but it was certainly a time when, whether or not the PCR test is actually accurate ever, it certainly isn't when the cycle thresholds are set so high.
That's what I was going to
mention. The inventor of that test said it was being used improperly.
Right. It was going back 60 years sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, and even, Anthony Fauci, even he said if the cycle threshold is too high, it's a completely worthless test. I mean, there are all sorts of, they did all sorts of things like changing the way that death certificates were completed so that if you had a positive COVID test, you were a COVID death, regardless of whether you were in a motorcycle accident or shot by
or shot 14 times.
Yeah, exactly. So
I have a question for you.
Sure.
You wrote a book, and it's about deprogramming Democrats. Okay? Are there certain conditions that exist that you feel as though deprogramming is no longer a possibility for an individual?
Well, I like to stay optimistic about it, and I like to say that if I could be deprogrammed, almost anybody could. I spent a long time being indoctrinated in school. I spent a long time being brainwashed and programmed through my work and my immersion in the democratic machinery. I do think that perhaps my parents and my background and when I grew up, because I grew up in a very different America than today's youth do. You know, I didn't grow up in a school system that taught me that Christopher Columbus committed genocide, and you know that capitalism is bad, and that didn't teach me about what the Bolshevik Revolution was or how many people have died during revolutions towards communism. And I find it that young people, when you talk to them about some of these things, had a very different or no education around some of those issues. Um, I think that where it gets somewhat difficult sometimes is that I describe what is happening on the far left as a cult and a cult like devotion. I think where it gets really difficult is when you get into some of the subcults that I would maybe talk about, and one of those being the gender ideology cult, because they have been brainwashed in a really different way in some ways than I have. They have been brainwashed to believe that there is a genocide going on against them, that we want to eradicate them completely. And I think that that becomes really, really challenging to break someone out of. And I think that for a lot of people, that is really their entire identity. And you know, I think part of what is really challenging is at least what I have seen and what I have seen work. Um, and I speak more to how you wake women up. I think sometimes then I think different techniques can work with men than can work with women. But with women, I think you have to only ask questions, and you can't try to tell them anything. And I think the same is true for some of the men, but if you look at, I don't know, you know, after the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk, I looked a lot at how he went about it, and he asked a lot of questions too, and then he would follow up with facts. Sometimes with the women, you're going to lose them with the facts. I know this sounds misogynistic, but it's not. It is about um, protecting the reality that they live in. It's about protecting the bubble and the delusion they've created. So ask them questions. You have to ask them questions, and questions that don't presuppose an answer and don't include facts in the question. Um, because really what you're trying to do is restart their brains. Like my brain got restarted with that question about poisoning the water. Jamie wasn't trying to tell me anything I didn't already believe was true. But what he did was push the cognitive dissonance I held so far that my brain could not hold it anymore. And it jump started my brain into thinking. Um, I think at this point, you know, if COVID didn't wake you up, and if 4 years of the Biden administration did not wake you up, you're facing a pretty challenging situation to wake people up. Yes.
I have an idea. Okay, we call it programming and deprogramming. In order for programming to come about, there has to be a programmer. So the thing is that those people that are establishing the mechanisms of the grooming, okay, those people are not personally indoctrinated in that. They're indoctrinated in power, money, and influence. And those are the actual enemies. The ones who are initiating the systems and the subsystems that create the control. And do you have any information on those folks?
So I think that there are a lot of institutions involved in this, and I would go. I think there are. So I think we're facing sort of a multifaceted uh, effort. So I'll start with our education system and the indoctrination that's happening there. Um, I would look at who controls the curriculum in the schools that teach the teachers. Okay, that's where, because if you look at our classrooms in our elementary and high schools now, you will see that you're not going to see American flags in these classrooms. You're not going to see the Pledge of Allegiance on the wall, but you will see the Pride flag, and you will see BLM flags, and you will see people teaching your children that you wouldn't let babysit your children probably a lot of times by the way they look. And I don't think you should judge people by the way they look, but you get my point, is that these are not, Mrs. Jones who went to church with you. These are young people who came up through the school system and maybe are outright avowed communists themselves, but have certainly been educated in critical theory, critical race theory, critical legal theory, and believe in systemic oppression. They believe in decolonialization. They believe, and they don't necessarily believe in the greatness of America the way that my teachers probably did. So go ahead, Roy.
Is this related to what the second half of the title of your book, which is Deprogramming Democrats and Uneducating the Elites? Is this related to uneducating the elites?
It is. I think that we're not really necessarily going to uneducate them, but what we need to really do is stop them from controlling what is our children are being educated about. And I think that we shouldn't be asking a 6-year-old what their pronouns are. We should be telling them what their pronouns are, right? We should be saying a boy is a boy and a girl is a girl, and these kind of things. And part of the challenge is that there are a lot of people who believe in gender ideology teaching in our classroom. But when I was a kid, if I was 6 and I was in school and a teacher was asking me, do I feel like like my body parts are correct, that teacher would not only be fired, but maybe arrested. And we have come to a place where we've lost, we've outsourced our education of our education of our children to the state to a degree that I think has not served us well. And I think what we have lost mostly is people's ability to question, people's ability to think, and people's ability to really appreciate our country. So starting there, that's one piece, is the education system for our children, and looking at who is training the teachers is the first place I would say we need to start. And then we have the situation of our legacy media and other media. And I think chapter 3 and 4 in my book are about tools of control. Chapter 3 is about the education system. And it gets even worse when you get to college. So as we started pushing more and more people into college, we think, oh, they're more educated, they are better thinkers, but it's the exact opposite of that, because 90% of their teachers are on the left, and many of them very much on the far left, and so they're only being exposed to those kind of ideas as well in college. But then chapter 4 is about propaganda and censorship, and are you both familiar with Operation Mockingbird?
Vaguely,
yeah.
So I highly encourage anyone who is interested in understanding how government has shaped our understanding of public events to look into it. It was essentially a CIA program which was outed in the 1970s to place intelligence agency operatives within all of our news stations, as well as in Hollywood. And so for our television programming, our movie scripts, and the other ways in which we were communicated to up until the event of the internet. One of the interesting things I found out in researching that chapter that I was unaware of is, the main um, television stations, ABC, NBC, CBS, were all founded by military intelligence, former military intelligence agents. And if you just think about the language that we use around these, well, these are television stations. Well, what is a CIA output called? It's a station. It's Station Baghdad. It's Station, and we literally call it programming. Now we return to our regular scheduled programming. So, and back in the early 1980s, I think there were over 50 media companies in this country, and it's down to 5 now that own all of the media. When I say that, now I'm talking about television stations, I'm talking about internet service providers, I'm talking about uh, video games, music, movie studios, and television programming. And so, and when you look at mainstream coverage of certain events, it is pretty easy to pick out that they are using the exact same words to describe events. And so, where is that coming from and why? And so, in our 24-hour news cycle, soundbite environment, there's a lot of control over what people think about what has happened, not just on what you cover, but on what you don't. And also how quickly you move on from a story. So let's an example I give in the book is did we ever know what happened with the Maui fires? What happened to the children? Why were the roads blocked off? Questions to ask, but we got about a day or two of coverage and then we moved on, and none of the mainstream coverage went back to it. Did you hear about the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio? And whatever happened with that?
At first, and then it disappeared also.
But if there is a story that they want us to focus on, like COVID, over and over and over and over, and so one asks oneself, well, where did this come from? Well, it's only gotten worse in the age of the internet in some ways. Technology is great because we can sit here and have this conversation. But almost every platform that we use was developed with military funding or intelligence agency funding. And I will use the example of Facebook that I highlight in my book. There was a program that I think it was DARPA, I think it was DARPA, and I should have double checked this before coming on, but I haven't talked about this in a little while, so it's not coming quite, but I think it was DARPA. They had this program that they were developing called LifeLog, and it was designed to collect a log of your life, pictures of every event you went to, track exactly where you went. And it got shuttered because the total information awareness program that they were trying to implement, which would have been them spying on Americans, got exposed and then got shut down. And they shut down the LifeLog program, and the very next day, Facebook launched.
I was thinking of Facebook.
The very next day, Facebook launched, and right after Facebook launched, one of the very first people on its board of directors was Peter Thiel, who we now know quite a bit about from Palantir, who at the time was one of the lead CIA contractors working on gathering information for our intelligence agencies. And so I raise that also as to say that most of the infrastructure now that we communicate on has some backing coming out of our intelligence agencies. And I think we saw a lot of some things getting exposed too when Doge started looking at who is USAID funding and what is going on there. And so I think, the good news here is that the three of us can sit here and have this conversation, and we have the ability to find out this information. At the same time, if you're using Google, their algorithms are hiding things from you. And 90% of over 90% of internet searches are done on Google. So if there's some information they want to hide, they will. Sometimes they'll just outright, the algorithm just shuts it down. Sometimes the algorithm will just put it on page 7 of results, and you'll never get there.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. You have to go to page 5, 6, 7 to find the truth on Google.
You do, yeah, definitely. Sadly, I think 90%, 92% of clicks are on the first page.
Yeah, people don't have the patience, the focus, the concentration to focus for more than 5 minutes at a time, tops.
And that's getting worse, and especially with younger folks, it's really bad. TikTok is a perfect example of,
yeah.
I want a 1-minute video, and then it's going to feed me another one right after that, and I don't even have to think about it. And so, technology provides this amazing opportunity. And like I said, I probably wouldn't have woken up and certainly wouldn't be having this great conversation with the two of you without technology. But at the same time, we have to be very vigilant about trying to ensure that we're reaching the truth, and that we aren't being driven with algorithms. And social media algorithms are particularly challenging. And I think that if I deleted all my social media when I first woke up, and I've started rebuilding it. I just have a profile on X, and I don't actually post very often on there. But if I were to believe what I saw on X was the real society that I lived in, it's the extremes. It's the extremes on everything, and it leaves out the rational, common sense, reasonable middle. That it's not the majority maybe of Americans, but it is the 40%, 45% who aren't at the extremes, and they don't get a lot of coverage because the algorithms are driving you to have a certain belief about what's getting posted. So
another thing that's very disturbing about all this, about Operation Mockingbird, about Facebook and other social media, about public schools, and also even teachers in private schools, because the education of those teachers, these are all driven by government funds, one way or the other, which means we, the taxpayers, are paying for our own demise. That's disturbing.
And then, go ahead.
The thing is that I don't want to forget this, but your book can be found on Amazon for sure, right?
Yes.
But any luck with Barnes and Noble and stuff, things like that?
On Barnes and Noble, I don't get a lot of activity there. One of the things I think, as we're talking about short attention spans, I'm not sure how many people read regular books that much anymore, to be honest. But you can also get the ebook. I'm looking into getting the audiobook because I think that might increase the audience who might listen.
My suggestion is you just get crib notes. That would make things a lot easier.
I have to apologize, by the way. I had downloaded your summary and I put it into Speechify. I intended to listen to it the past week, but the past week a lot of different things came up and I was unable to listen to it. I do have it there. I started it, but I have to get back to it, which I will do, even though you're on today and tomorrow you're not going to be here. I do want to listen to it.
Well, I will say that, I feel bad that I was late. I don't know, when I put it into my calendar, it switched the time, but I would be happy. I'd be happy to come back if that, if that is of interest. I think the other thing that I think we have to
have you back.
Oh, that's great, Roy. I'd love that. The
Yeah,
other
Michael
thing,
calls me. guest whore because I will. I want to speak to as many different people as I can. But if you have something that I think is interesting, not only to us but to our audience, to people in general, yeah, I want you on the podcast. If it's going to help you and it's going to help us expand the podcast and reach more people, so that your messages get out to more people too.
Is there an organization that you're associated with?
Not at the moment. I really, one of the things that I advise to people who want to find truth is to follow the money. And right now, I don't want to take money from anybody, because I want to raise money. Everyone needs money in this society. But one of the things that I saw during my time in Washington was the overwhelming flood of money, and a lot of it dark, coming into our political process. It might or might not surprise you or any of the audience that in 2024, $4.6 billion was spent on lobbying. That's with a B, that's $1 billion. And almost $20 billion was spent on the 2024 election. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
And so, and largely in part due to the Supreme Court decision in Citizens United, which opened the door to pretty much unlimited dark money in our elections. So how do citizens' voices compete in an environment where you're talking about those kind of sums of money from special interests and billionaires and all of that? And so, following the money, where did it come from? What was it used for? And who did it benefit? Like, how many people paid for as we were talking about earlier, the No Kings marches and all of that? Kind of coming to circle back to where we started when I came on. You know, is it are a lot of these things that we see, are they actually organic, and did they come from the people? Are they grassroots, or are they? And very little is, right? So
$200 million was spent on the No Kings rally. I believe somewhere around that amount. When you think about it, that's a lot of money to be spent on. I mean, it costs a lot of money to have buses and ship people in, and there you go.
Yeah, so follow the money, question everything, and follow the money. Those are my two biggest pieces of advice for people who want to be awake and want to know what the truth is.
But how can you follow the money? I think you have the expertise, and you may take it for granted that everybody else has those skill sets.
Well, first of all, I would find, and I'm not one of these people. As I said, I don't really post on social media. I'm really trying to figure out what the best way to share my messages are, and coming on podcasts and talking is one. But find some independent people who that's what they do. And there are a lot of people now who do. If you want to learn more about lobbying, I have a great and who's paying who and who's taking money from whom. There is a great website called opensecrets.org and opensecrets.org. And you can look at, how much did each industry spend, and how much did each senator take from the healthcare industry, from the pharmaceutical industry, those kinds of questions. If you're interested in education, you can go to the agency, whatever agency it is. So the Department of Education will list all the grants they give out, for example. So for government funding, you can find out exactly what they funded, and often through their grants page or their contracts page. Nonprofits, it's a little bit trickier sometimes, and often it gets passed through a few different places. But that's why I say finding maybe some independent journalists or some people who that's what they dedicate their time to, would make sense. You can, like I said, any agency at the federal level, you can find out exactly where all the dollars go if that's of interest to you.
That aren't hidden, like the CIA budget.
Well, that aren't hidden, yes. If they're classified, I mean, part of the CIA budget, I know, like, not even members of Congress and the president endorsed some of
I
that.
would imagine that the CIA gets more money even than our military.
I couldn't answer that question for you because I have no idea what the CIA's budget is, and I have no idea what the black budgets
what
are.
they do, what they control, they have to have a lot of money. You know.
And
By the
I
way,
think
you might be interested in. We had a guest on a couple of months ago, Laura Forcum. She's the head of the Independent Voters Association or organization. You might, since you're not affiliated with Republicans or Democrats, you might be interested in what they do. Just going to throw that out there.
I appreciate that. I'll check it out.
Okay. And I'm going to check out the OpenSecrets.org. I like that. You know what? Maybe OpenSecrets.org should start selling those jackets or T-shirts, bomber jackets like NASCAR style, where all the Congress people in Congress have patches for the people who are paying them. You know, so we know who they're beholden to.
They might have to have like a robe to fit it all on there.
There you go.
But yeah, I agree. You know, I think one of the things that's really, really hard to get a handle on is how all this money affects the way that our government operates, and
why certain people vote the way they do, despite being, you know, you're pegging them as one thing, and then all of a sudden they're voting a totally different way.
And that is really, really true. I mean, you know, it's disheartening in some ways. You know, towards the very end of my career, the organization that I worked for had a small political action committee. And when I say small by, you know, DC standards, it meant we had some money that we could help with some candidates' reelections, but we weren't able to give money to everybody, and we weren't able to give a lot of money to anyone in particular, but it did give me the opportunity to sort of see how that part of the political world operates. You know, so we had supported a particular House candidate, and she was brand new. She was a freshman, and she won her election. And so she called us all in for a thank you breakfast right after she won to say thank you for supporting me. And so it was day 3 after she had been sworn into her first term. And we asked her, you know, what's the best part of your job? And she talked about meeting with her constituents and having the ability to pass that on in committee meetings and things like that. And then someone asked, well, what's the worst part of your job? And she looked around and she said, my fundraiser is going to kill me, but it's call time. And I said, someone asked, what do you mean call time? And she's like, well, when I have to sit down with the list that my fundraiser gives me and call everybody and ask for money. She was 3 days into her first term. She's already calling donors because you're almost constantly running.
Yeah, they spend 75% or more of their time running for re-election.
Correct. And a lot of that is about raising money. Not as much of it is about getting back to my district and talking to my constituents and being able to show my constituents what I've actually done for them, because there's so much money in these races now. And you also have to raise money for your party. And if you don't, then, you know, you might not. They're not going to support you. They're not going to support you. You might not get the good committee seat. They might primary you. Yeah.
Since I consider you a political expert, okay, which you may not agree with, but it doesn't matter. I consider you an expert, so there you go.
I think you are too.
I would like to know, this is an obscure question because that's what I'm good at. Name the 3 most capable, regardless good or bad, capable politicians that are in Washington, D.C. right now. It's a good one, huh?
Yeah.
They accomplish what they're out to accomplish, I guess.
Well, whatever she thinks is a good answer.
Okay.
You know, let me preface by saying that I think Washington, D.C., from a we the people American citizen perspective is completely broken. I think maybe from the establishment perspective, it's working exactly how it's supposed to. Because I'm not sure the establishment really wants to fix anything, because then they couldn't keep blaming each other and keep us fighting each other. We'd actually hold them to account. So the most capable, I hate to disappoint you. I'm not sure I can give you an answer. Nobody, I mean, so I think President Trump is really one of the most capable politicians in Washington, in part because he has pulled himself out of that establishment in many ways. And some people might really argue with me about this, but it's not because he's accomplished very much, but who has right now. Thomas Massey has done a really good job of drawing attention to a lot of the issues that exist in Washington, D.C. And, it's, it depends on what you want to consider capable, I guess.
They get what they're after. They get what they're after, I guess.
No. How effective they are following their own agenda, like Roy says. In other words,
their own agenda. I would say Nancy Pelosi was really effective at that, and she made a lot of money for herself and her husband in the process. This may sound really crazy, but if you're Chuck Schumer and when you're in the minority, you don't want a lot to happen, because it's not likely to be anything you want to happen. So we have the shutdown, and maybe he's very capable by having the shutdown. Now, in the long run, is it going to benefit the Democrats and Chuck Schumer? I don't think so. I think in the long run, it is going to be the fault for it, the blame for it's going to be hung on them. But in the short term, he has been stopping a lot from happening. So, there you go.
It was a weird question, but I just thought it would break the ice a little bit.
And it did. It almost broke my brain though, because Washington is so broken, and so if you're thinking about, for me, I want to see us doing things that help the American people, and I do see President Trump doing that. I see some very capable people in his administration, but I don't consider them politicians.
Oh, okay.
So I think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is accomplishing an awful lot to ask a lot of questions that need to be asked about how did industry take over our agencies, and how has that affected our health, and what questions do we need to be answering. And science, by the way, is never afraid of questions. Only people with moneyed interests are afraid of questions. And it's the exact opposite of science to say science is settled or don't question science. That's not science.
That's what science is, questioning everything.
Yeah, exactly. The argument is that came from an expert, therefore you don't question it, is BS.
And that's a huge tenet of the progressive cult.
Whoop. What happened there?
Sorry. I better plug in.
That's what happened. Yeah, I had to plug in before. I had to plug in about a half hour ago.
Yeah, so, I don't know. It seems like you guys have been on a long time now. I don't know.
Yep.
I'm happy to
we were on talk, about 45 minutes maybe before you came in. So we and you have been talking for close to an hour, which is good. I mean, it's been interesting. It's been informative, and before boring.
when we close the podcast, you have to stay online so we upload.
Just for a moment to make sure that you got uploaded. Okay. Especially and I know what the problem was with the thing. I should have told you to exit the studio, turn your camera, and then come back in. That was my fault. I didn't realize it so much later. But it was too late. I didn't want to do it in the middle of
Sorry. Well, if I'd have come on time, it might not have happened.
Next time, there will be a next time.
Okay.
We'd love to have you back.
We like famous people.
I may be infamous. I'm not sure I'm famous, but
Who's talking about you?
Well, we're trying to become infamous too, so it's okay. You're helping us out.
I
Romance
appreciate that.
is the man's hero.
All right.
So
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, and I'd be happy to come back and talk again. And I'm sure Washington will continue to give us plenty to talk about. So
right, okay.
That's
Anyway, thank you very much. This we've been talking to Lisa Ekman, the author of Deprogramming Democrats and Uneducating the Elites, which I urge you all to go out to Amazon.com to check out. And
and you can
please,
check out my website, deprogrammingdemocrats.com, if you're
let me write
interested
that
in
down
learning a
again.
little bit more about me, finding
Oh,
out other
actually,
places.
I opened it up on one of these tabs. I got a million tabs here, but I opened it up on one of my tabs here. And Deprogramming Democrats what
Deprogrammingdemocrats.com.
.com. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, that's simple.
Very
All right.
simple.
We'll put all that on the website.
We're
Sounds
going to
great.
do that. Okay. So, well, thank you very much for coming in, and we will see you again. To the audience, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I hope it was as enlightening to you as it was for us. And we hope to see you again next time on The View from Here, Behind Enemy Lines. All right.